Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this now. Government is implementing a new crime-fighting strategy, especially in provinces affected by escalating gang violence. This includes Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the Western and Eastern Cape provinces. Acting Police Minister Firoz Cachalia today engaging communities in Sophiatown in Johannesburg. Let's take a listen.
We have a revised strategy. It has a lot of different elements, and the strategy, the government is allocated funding for the implementation of that strategy. The violence has intensified now in the parts of Gauteng, so we have to make sure that that strategy is implemented in all 4 provinces where the gang violence is growing. That's Gauteng, the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Western Cape. The implementation of the strategy is going to require constant attention. We will have to monitor whether the implementation of the strategy, whether the strategy is achieving the results we're hoping for. The community was well represented here today. I indicated to them, we took a register of their names and contact details, that I want to maintain that contact. I hope that the community will build a community forum here. In the past, this community has produced great leaders, has established strong organizations, faith-based sporting organizations, and so forth. We're going to need those organizations to come on board. There is, in parts of, I think there is a trust gap. We have to breach that trust gap because the community has a major role to play. Of course, where there's high levels of violence, and you're dealing with organized crime, people are reluctant to come forward. They're not prepared to testify in court, which makes it a little bit difficult to achieve convictions. But we have to fight this battle.
All right, let's get a reaction now to the so-called revised strategy to fight gang-related crimes in Gauteng. And to help us do this is Community Safety Portfolio Committee Chairperson in the legislature here in Gauteng, Dr. Bandile Masuku. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for your time. We know that the acting minister was not only in Sophiatown, he went to Westbury, he also went to Reiger Park, and that's the part that you were also present in, the latter part, Reiger Park. The understanding around this, Dr. Masuku, is that this is all part of an effort to enhance cooperation with communities in order to try and build safety in communities. Do we know in detail as to what is going to be done, particularly in gang-ridden areas? How do you get rid of that? I think you're muted, sir. Sorry.
No, I was saying that the details have not been shared with us, I think because of the sensitive nature of part of the operations and part of the mechanics that they will put in place to deal with the issue of gang violence. But what we are comfortable on is the comfort that we get from this revised strategy is that it does strengthen already the efforts that have been put in place. You know that in Gauteng, we do have an anti-gang unit that has been working in all the areas that are affected by gang violence. But I think one of the important aspects also is the involvement of the community. You know, the realization that part of everything of fighting gang violence won't be possible if we don't work and strengthen community policing system, and also having a way of liaising with the community as one way of gathering, you know, intelligence. So this revised strategy for us give us confidence that at least there will be some successes, you know, that will be much more pronounced going forward.
Yeah, I think what could, and I use that word very carefully, what could be reassuring for communities are the words from the acting minister, who said, this is not a once-off visit to these communities. We are here for the long haul. Those were his words. And I can't, though, say that the communities were convinced. I was watching this very channel a little earlier, I think the minister, when he was in Westbury, and my colleague, Veronica, was relaying a story from a community member who was part of the closed-door meeting that the minister would then be, would have been engaged in. And that person came out saying, our children have no future here. It didn't sound as though she was convinced that the minister indeed has a solid plan, and that more important for them, their children are going to be rescued from the scourge of not only gangs, but drugs that have now become part of the social fabric of the community. I mean, if the minister himself is going to say, admit that there are international syndicates who are distributing drugs, and he mentioned specifically Mexicans whom he says are here in South Africa. How do you convince those parents who are worried sick about their children and their future?
I think, yes, the trust deficit is there. You know, I think we acknowledge that trust deficit. But what is important is that as a committee such as ours is to make sure that we continuously hold the police accountable so that we, on behalf of the citizens. So what we know in Regepak, for an example, is that there is a committee that has been formed, which is led by the communities, which will be working together with the police. The committee is coordinated from the provincial commissioner side of things, and we are hoping that through that committee we'll be able to address this issue of trust deficit. One of the important aspects to it that the minister also made an undertaking, even the national commissioner, is to follow up on all the cases that the community reported that they've not been finalized, there's no reports, there's no progress. And those are a type of cases that the committee and the police will look at, and also to make sure that there is some progress report given. You know, these are some few interventions that can make the community believe that, you know, that this a new strategy will bring about some form of success. So we need to talk to these small interventions and make sure that they are successful, and we won't be able to win the community trust overnight. It needs small victories, and those steps are going to lead us to those type of successes.
So let's interrogate the trust deficit that exists and how you can bridge that, as the minister sought to do today. Let me tackle it this way, and that is that, do you have an explanation here tonight as to why Fred Cachalia is the acting commissioner of police in Gauteng when Tomim Tombeni, whenever the big, or should we say the head honchos, these are the big officials from head office, are doing the rounds, then you see him present. I could see him from visuals today. He is there, visible. And yet, you have an acting police commissioner in the name of Fred Cachalia who is doing that whenever crime comes around. Why? Where is Tomim Tombeni?
He's back in office. You know, we joked around last week when I was with him that, you know, your absence is causing problems and raising concerns, but he was on leave. He's back in office. We were with him in Regepak today, and he has some responsibilities that he was given by the National Commissioner around the issue of Regepak, even making sure the success of the committee that I was referring to, of the community leaders, which will work with the police. So he is around, and maybe it's not how they communicate, it's how they communicated his leave that had caused some concern. But, he's back in office and is in full swing.
And so his absence is not because his name has come up at the Madlanga inquiry and I'm sorry to put it this way, and the nonsense that some of the police officials have been part of in this country.
No, I don't think so, unless there will be new information that he will communicate with the rest of us. But as far as I know, that he was on leave, and we've been working quite well with General Kekane, and he's also part of the whole team. And what I like about their style of working is that they don't have this hierarchical type of arrangement. They work as a collaboration and as a partnership with all the other deputy commissioners.
Yeah. So how then do you build a trust relationship with a commissioner that is implicated in matters to do with criminal syndicates where they're basically friends?
I think we would have to get to a point where there will be proof that is put together, and I'm certain that if he was found to be with evidence and everything that he was on the wrong side of the law must definitely take its course. The law must not favor anyone irrespective of the positions. Everyone who's found to be on the wrong side of the law must be dealt with. Even in the meeting at Recha Park, the issue of corruption of police, police taking bribes and so on was raised. And the deputy commissioner came up and responded to say that they have worked and arrested their colleagues who have been found in corruption acts, and we know some of them. We know some of those operations. So it's just a question of how the small steps, as I've said, is not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take time, but we must take the little wins that come. Where police who are corrupt are found with evidence and they are prosecuted. That's what needs to happen. That's what we need to encourage, and we encourage the community also. Besides just making broad, general accusations, it will be important that we also provide some evidence. IPIT is one of way. Our committee is one way. So we need to all work together and get the small wins. And this trust deficit will be able to gain it and regain it quite well.
All right. Side issue as we conclude the conversation, the defacing of G20 flags or signposts. I think it was the ANC that commented on that. What do you think is behind this?
It's very concerning. I don't take even the word when you talk about it. I heard people talk about vandalizing and defacing. And actually, it's sabotage. It's actually sabotaging states' efforts to present itself as a country that can host world leaders. And this is sabotage, it's treasonous, and it needs to be followed up. I'm happy that I'm told that the intelligence team is on it, but we also call on members of the public who could know anybody or anyone, and it's also very disheartening to see people, when we are trying to present a very good side of our country, they try to present the negative side. This is treasonous. We saw a banner all along M1 highway this morning, which was also putting a very negative aspect about our country. So we can't allow such things to happen when we are trying all efforts to build and give a positive image of our country. This is treason, and it must be treated as such. When we say it's vandalism, we just talk up like it's almost like a petty crime, but it is a serious crime which needs to be taken as serious as it is.
Dr. Bandile Masuku, thank you very much for your time. Chair of the Gauteng Community Safety Portfolio at the Legislature.